It's time for the North Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
That's right. Welcome in another edition of the North Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, talking District 1 and 2 activities week in, week out here in the state of Idaho. My name is Brandon Baney, and we are joined by our North Idaho expert, Ryan Scaggs. I've already botched the intro. This is going to be a long podcast today, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, we got a long way to go and a short time to get there. But so do you like sit in your living room now with that headset on and just do play-by-play of your wife walking through the house and stuff like that?
I would be murdered if that happened. She would not be able to handle that.
She comes into the kitchen and yeah. That'd be an easy way to get thrown out.
Yeah, that's gonna be hit the showers. So I'm a lot closer to North Idaho than I usually am when I podcast. I'm actually in Montana for the week, seeing family and friends and that kind of stuff, and nothing on my laptop is working. Not the camera, the mic's not working great. So I set up all the broadcast gear. I have one of our broadcast cameras pointed at me. I've got the headset on. I feel very Walter Cronkite-ish here.
Oh, it's super. You almost look like you're doing a radio show. So
yeah, you know. Right. Yeah. This is the Dave Ramsey show.
Yeah. I'll keep my comments to myself. Yes.
Watch, we're gonna get sued by Dave Ramsey now. Can't wait for that lawsuit.
He seems like the type of person that would sue. Sorry,
I know. I know. Every last penny, right? He's gonna get. So,
right.
Anyways, here we are talking about our spring sports extravaganza. All the spring sports championships happened last week, and so here we are to break it down. We're just playing the hits today, all right? We don't have time to get into every single thing that happened at every single event, so we're playing the hits. We're going to highlight the champions, individual and team, talk about a few noteworthy stories, and if you're looking for more comprehensive coverage of what happened, you can always go to IdahoSports.com. We've got a state track and field recap there. We've got all the baseball and softball brackets, everything that went final there. As well. And so IdahoSports.com is going to be your best bet here as we just play the hits today. We're going radio DJ Scaggs.
And I'll do my best Casey Kasem. So, and he says,
yeah, we've got a letter from Ryan at Coeur d'Alene, and he writes, "Dear Casey."
That'll be our hate. We'll have to do a hate mail episode of just that. But
we'll read mean tweets
Mr.
about
Bateman
us.
from Bonner's Ferry, and he writes.
Oh, that would be great. Actually, that would be a fun podcast to do for sure. All right. Well, we are going to start in softball where, overall for the North, Ryan, it wasn't a huge weekend in terms of championships. And that's just the way it goes sometimes, right? Sometimes the North really cleans up. Sometimes it's harder. And this just is one of those years where the number is a little lower, but we still had a lot of good performances. So in softball, we did have some traction where at the 1A state softball tournament, just like at the 1A state baseball tournament, we're going to talk about it. The North continues to dominate the South. The North sweeps the top 4 spots at the 1A state softball tournament, although not in the order I think anybody thought it would finish, where you had Genesee coming in as the number 6 seed overall, getting all the way to the championship and winning in pretty dominant fashion.
Yeah, that team that really, pulled some surprises in the district tournament to even get into state, and then obviously to be seeded 6th, and then to make that magical Cinderella run and end up winning the title, including a victory over Potlatch en route to the title. That's just hats off to the Bulldogs. That was impressive and a great job by them. And the rest of the White Pine League, looked really good. Kendrick beating Clearwater Valley 11-4. Finishing 3rd for the Tigers, and finishing runner-up. I apologize, but it's sorry. No, I had that backwards, didn't I? It's Kendrick.
Yeah.
No.
You're good. Let me reset here. So the final 4 is Clearwater Valley, Potlatch, Kendrick, Genesee. Genesee is playing Potlatch in that undefeated semifinal Saturday morning. They win that game 18-12. Meanwhile, Kendrick is beating Clearwater Valley in the 4th place game 11-4. And so Potlatch, after losing that game to Genesee, never really recovered. They end up playing Kendrick for third place, and Kendrick wins 17-2. I'll admit, I was stunned when I checked in on this game on Friday, and I was like, oh, the score's got to be backwards or something, like, because not the fact that Kendrick was winning, but the run total 17-2. Potlatch just ran out of gas, so Potlatch takes third. And then in the championship game, Genesee wins 10-5 over Kendrick. They only needed to win once, and it's their first softball championship since 2016. Congrats!
Yeah. No, it's an awesome job. And I think what had been a fairly rough year for sports at Genesee ends with a bright note. And a state championship for the Bulldogs there is a great job. So, and I want to say the Kendrick Tigers making it to the title game as well. That 17-2 win. Like you said, I thought it was a typo. I thought it may have been like 7-2 maybe, but 17-2. I'm like, holy cow. You talk about run production that comes out of nowhere. But yeah, just a great job by the Bulldogs to complete that magical run in the state championship. It's a great job.
Yeah, it was really good. And then so pitching for Genesee was Kendra Meyer. She pitched back-to-back complete games on Saturday against Potlatch and then Kendrick in the championship. Lewiston Tribune had a good write-up about this. They talked to Brian Malcolm, the head coach of Genesee, and he said he thought that Kendra Meyer may have set a new state tournament record for innings pitched in a single tournament, which is pretty impressive in softball.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. And, you can get away with it in softball just based on the arm mechanics and stuff like that. So it does help a little bit, but it still doesn't mean that her arm, by the time they're hitting the late innings in that nightcap of the championship game, that arm's not ready to fall off at that point. I mean, you're just pitching on pure adrenaline at that point.
Yeah, and that was really the lone highlight from softball. All the other teams from the north that we thought could go down and make some noise, Coeur d'Alene at the 5A, Timberlake at the 3A, St. Mary's at the 2A, they all almost went 2 and out. Timberlake was the one team, they went 1 and 2 and then fell out of it. That's just the way it goes at state sometimes. I think the most surprising to me was St. Mary's, right? They come in and they're playing Declo, the 7 seed in the opening round. St. Mary's is the 2 seed. And St. Mary's committed, I'd have to double check on this. It was like 12 or 13 errors in the field. And Declo still won, but it was like still a close game. Yeah. So you just wonder if they tighten up the defense a little bit. And then they had to turn around and play West Jefferson, who also got upset in the first round. Like that's like a championship or a semifinal matchup. And here it's a loser out game. And just like that, St. Mary's went all the way to Pocatello to go 2 and out, and then they got to go all the way back home. It's kind of a bummer, but it
was a bummer finish for the Lumberjacks and a great career by Tacey Watkins and what she was able to do. But like you just don't get the defense behind you. It doesn't necessarily play into your hand or play into your favor. And there's some magical runs that took place, like you said, at 5A with Coeur d'Alene coming through districts to get to the state tournament, thinking that they could maybe get a podium finish, and just things didn't go the Vikings' way down there as well. And that's the way the cookie crumbles. I think, Moscow had a great run this year too, getting into state and falling short at state as well. So, but it don't let it take away from the season that you had, but at the same time, you want to get those finishes at state and finish in the top 4 for sure.
Yep. And remember, the ultimate stopping point doesn't define the journey. So great season still from all those teams from the north in softball. All right, let's go to baseball. 1A state tournament where you repeat it after me. 1, 2, 3. The North sweeps the South. Whoa, big surprise, right?
Yeah. I think we called that at the beginning of the season. May not have been the exact order that we saw. I thought we look at Troy, as a repeat, the chance with the lineup to go. But that the way that the North finished, I just look at that, and it was a 5-team league anyways. But there was all 5 of those top 5 teams could have probably finished in the top 4 at state, no matter what happened. You only get 4 bids. But it's a great run by Troy in the state championship, winning 2 in a row, going back to back, and then winning 10-0 over Clearwater Valley in the championship. That's just hats off to the Trojans in that program. What they're able to do is just impressive.
Yep. So Troy repeats as 1A baseball champions, their second baseball title in school history. They both come into last year. A 10-0 win over Clearwater Valley. The game ends via the 10-run rule. We released our all tournament teams on IdahoSports.com for all of the state baseball tournaments. You can check those out right at the top of the homepage. And for the 1A tournament, this is the tournament I was broadcasting at Churchfield in Lewiston. And Will Kingsbury, my partner, and I, we ended up selecting Eli Stoner, the senior from Troy, as our tournament MVP. He started on the mound in game 1 at State and got them a win. Then on Saturday, he started the game at first base. Joseph Bendel was really struggling, and they made the pitching switch halfway through the game and brought in Stoner out of the bullpen to finish off the game. And he certainly did that. And then he also delivered a 2-run double to end the game via the 10-run roll in the bottom of the 5th. So I thought that was pretty fitting for Eli Stoner, our tournament MVP.
And I think a worthy pick. And, you talk about, a great place for a high school game. I mean, Lewiston's doesn't have a shortage of great facilities for baseball down there in the LC Valley. And I think the North Lewiston needs to get a little bit more love for hosting baseball tournaments. I think they do a great job down there as far as, the facilities that they have in the LC Valley. And we'll see that be put on display this weekend with the NAIA World Series coming to Lewiston and opening up Friday morning. But it'll be interesting to see how things go again next year, because I know a lot of these teams have, some pretty heavy weight coming back to these rosters next year. Not to look ahead too much, but, you look at the run of what Clearwater Valley did getting in the title game, and then obviously, you look at Prairie getting 3rd and Potlatch finishing 4th. Both those teams, I think, are going to be back and fairly stocked pretty heavy next year as well. So White Pine baseball is in a good position to run the table for the foreseeable future.
Yes, the youth. Troy had 5 seniors, but really 2 that were starters.
Mm-hmm.
Clearwater Valley had 2 seniors, period, one of which was a starter, and that's the heart and soul of the team, Louis Fabi, right? Prairie had 1 senior, and Potlatch had, I think, 5 seniors as well, but a lot of their impact players are underclassmen. So none of these teams, and honestly, the teams from the South that were there too, were also all very young. There just wasn't a lot of seniors in general this year. And so, I think we could see easily the same cast of characters again next year, trying to run it back, in particular for Troy. Dom Holden, sophomore on the mound. Joseph Bendel is only a junior, and Makai Durrett, I was really impressed with him. He's the catcher for Troy. He really handles that pitching staff well, and he is only a sophomore. He and Dom have been playing since they were elementary school kids, and they have just come up through the ranks together. That was kind of a cool story. Troy also, I talked to their assistant coach prior to the tournament starting, and he said, we won state last year, and as we drove into Lewiston, we got to drive through Kendrick and the field there in Julietta. And I saw about 5 tom turkeys just standing out there on the pitcher's mound there in Kendrick. And that was kind of the sign, that we were going to win the title. And he said, this year we're driving through there again. And this time I see, 2 or 3 tom turkeys standing there on the pitcher's mound in Kendrick. And so that was the sign that Troy was going to come through and win again. So,
and that's a cool run and a cool. I mean, you talk about baseball. I think in the small school ball in North Idaho, especially in Latah County and Clearwater County, man, it's just tough. There's no nights off with some of these teams, and a lot of these kids are playing summer ball now too, which is awesome. I mean, you don't normally see a ton of the smaller school kids playing traveling summer ball, but these kids do, and they do it very well. And you're seeing the product on the field. I think the more that these guys are touching the field, it's definitely making a difference. And you're able to see things. I think baseball, especially, you're seeing the dominant run coming out of the north in the last 5-10 years. But it's going to continue. I really do put my foot on that, because I think that you look at the younger youth levels too. There's just a ton of talent coming up now.
Yeah, you mentioned travel ball. So Potlatch has a pair of brothers, Waylon and Jay Marshall, and their mother was operating the scoreboard all throughout the tournament. So I got to talk to her quite a bit, and then Jay and Waylon would come into the press box and sit when they weren't playing as well. So I got to talk to them quite a bit. They play travel ball with some of those Troy kids, like Dom Holden, like Makai Durrett, and Waylon's mom was talking to me in the semifinals where Potlatch fell to Troy, and she goes, boy, if Waylon could just get a hit off Dom, that would be like the greatest accomplishment of his life. And that was before the game, because Dom Holden finished with 13 strikeouts in that semifinal win for Troy. And so I'm sharing that story on the air as Waylon's up to bat, and I get done telling the story, and he uncorks a triple to the deepest part of left field. So, life achievement complete for Waylon Marshall.
That's awesome story. That's super great. And you guys did a great job broadcasting that tournament, and everybody did statewide. And I mean, there was just some cool stories, throughout the state. Just not to segue too much, but Scott Burton did that story with the Pocatello player that I ended up watching last night. That's an awesome story. If you haven't get a chance to watch that, that is such a neat story about the kid that ends up winning 2 state championships in 2 different sports in the same weekend. That's awesome. That was an awesome story.
Yeah, so at the 4A tournament, Brody Birch from Pocatello, he runs track and plays baseball. And not every school lets their athletes do that. So kudos to Pokey High for being cool. So Brody Birch plays Thursday and Friday at state with Pocatello baseball, drives over to Boise Friday night, gets up Saturday, wins the 800-meter championship in 4A track, and then hops on a plane and flies to Twin Falls, gets to the stadium as the game has started, enters the game in the second inning at second base, then comes in on the mound to close out the win. He wins 2 championships in 2 different sports, in 2 different cities, all in the span of like 5 hours on Saturday. So, yes.
So cool, man. That's so awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, and like I follow like John Boy Media and stuff like that on Instagram and stuff. And it's like everybody was trying to tag him to get a shout out because that's just such that you don't see that in anywhere in the nation. Like that is just so dang cool.
Yeah.
And I believe he finished runner up too in the 4x4, if I'm not mistaken. And so, I mean, that you talk about having a weekend. That's a heck of a weekend right there.
Yeah, pretty epic. So yeah, Scott Burton was our broadcaster at the 4A state baseball tournament, and he went one-on-one with Brody Birch yesterday. It is on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and Twitter account. But as a special little bonus, I will also be putting that interview into the North Idaho Prepcast feed. I know it's Pocatello and it's not really North Idaho, but this is just a cool
It's super cool. It's super cool. So, yeah, absolutely. It's a great interview.
Yep. So North Idaho Prepcast listeners, that'll be in your podcast feed as well. If you listen audio only at IdahoSports.com or wherever you download your podcasts. So, so that was the 1A state baseball tournament. One last note, Troy did not have a home field all year long. They do have a beautiful field in Troy, but it hasn't been usable much of the past couple of seasons. That snow was piled up and then it got so waterlogged they couldn't even use it when the snow finally did melt. So all their home games, quote unquote, were at Clearwater Field in Lewiston. So they're used to making that drive into Lewiston. And they even for practice, they just went out to an asphalt parking lot and spray painted a diamond, and that's how they practiced.
It's like the movie, what is that, The Rookie? They had the field, they had to replant, and it's just a cool story. And it's no excuses. I think that's the mantra of that team, is that there's no excuses made and you get results. So it's awesome.
Yeah, and big shout out to Clearwater Valley playing for their first baseball championship in school history. They come up just short, but that was a really fun team to cover. And we did post-game interviews with all of our IdahoSports.com players of the game as well, and they all did a fantastic job. Jack Clark, they all had highlights. So we had Jack Clark on from Potlatch. He was the winning pitcher on day one, and his curveball just has some really serious bend to it. And we asked him, when you're facing a hitter, what's your strategy? Because you have such good movement on your pitches. And he goes, I basically aim for their heads and I know it's going to drop down and be a strike.
It's one way of doing it, I guess. That's awesome, though. If you can get a good 12-6 on your drop like that, that's not bad. So
So Jack Clark just aims for their heads. Another highlight, we had Prairie shortstop Eli Hines on after the third place game, and he really just smacked the crap out of the ball. And we asked him, we said, what was your approach at the plate? And he said, I just wanted to hit the hell out of the ball.
No, that's definitely you get some good audio clips from doing these state tournaments. I mean, I remember, I think it was you that had was it Colby Renner after he hit the game winner from St. Mary's at State. That's still one of the best interviews I've ever heard from a high school player. But you just get some awesome moments with kids, and it's super great. I mean, these kids they all work insanely hard and they put in a ton of time, but they're all incredibly humble too. That's the one thing I've realized around the area, is that you get kids that are Division I athletes, but they're still incredibly humble and they still love to have fun, and they're kids. And you get to see that, especially come state tournament time.
Yeah, it was a blast doing all of those post-game interviews for sure. And then one last highlight I wanted to touch on with the post-game interviews as well. So we had a really good one from Jack Clark. We had an excellent one from Eli Hines. And then we had Noah Beeler on from Prairie as well. He came on actually so Prairie won their first round game, and he pitched on the mound and got 9 strikeouts. And so then he came on during the final first round game for an inning and talked to us while Clearwater Valley was playing. And I said, what do you think about this Potlatch Troy semifinal? You want to preview it for us? And it was like he worked for IdahoSports.com. It was like the ultimate promotion. He's like, oh yeah, that game, starts tomorrow afternoon at 3:00. And, I don't know if we're allowed, but I'm going to see if I can get out of school early to come and watch this one. And yeah, it's pretty epic.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, that's super great.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun with all the baseball guys. And, a big shout out to Alan Hutchins, the athletic director at Clearwater Valley. He was our tournament director as well. And anytime I'm working a state tournament and Alan's running it, I know I'm in good hands.
Yeah. No, it does a great job, and just good people too. Yeah.
Yeah. It was really fun getting, we did some shout outs during the broadcast. We had people email me shout outs to their favorite players and, tell us where you're watching the game from. For Clearwater Valley, we had people watching in Seattle. We had people watching in New York City. And for the Fabi family, there's Louis Fabi, the senior, Jake Fabi, the sophomore. They've got a third brother who's an 8th grader, Peter Fabi. So he's coming up next year. But the oldest Fabi boy, Christian Fabi, he actually lives in Italy. And so he was watching from Italy, and it's middle of the night over there in Italy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you're just like, yeah, all right. Yeah. That's awesome though.
Yeah.
That just makes it the thing so neat. And you realize when you start doing the state tournament stuff and people come up and they're like, oh, hey, I've got my grandmother in Florida watching you right now. And, it's like, can we get a shout out or get some love to so-and-so? And you find out people have relatives all over the place, but you don't really realize the reach of what you do. And it's just about the kids and about, showing their, experience and their ability and what they're doing. And if you make it about them, it's so much fun though. That's the cool part about, we're lucky because we just get to be bystanders to all the fun stuff. But we don't see all the hard work and practice and everything day in and day out, but you see the result on the field and it makes a huge difference. And you get to see the grandparents, get to watch their grandkids for maybe the first time all year if they're the smaller school, because they're not broadcast on NFHS or through us or whoever else, or they're not running their own, Facebook or YouTube pages. So it's an opportunity that's kind of the neat thing about, what we do is that sometimes we offer the first preview of what they've been able to see their kid, playing live for the first time in a year. It's a pretty neat feeling.
Yeah, and I will say, Clearwater Valley did a great job all year long of streaming their baseball games. They had a YouTube channel and did a fantastic job. Josh Bradley, the head coach there. 2 last notes on Clearwater Valley, and then we'll move on to some other stuff.
Move on to 5A, yeah.
Yeah, I have all this good 1A info because I did the tournament. So for Clearwater Valley as well, I finally got to the bottom of why, Louis Fabi is called Louis, right? His given name is Anthony Fabi, and that was on all the rosters up until this year when I started going, who the heck's Louis Fabi?
I was like, didn't they have an Anthony kid? That's what I was about to say. Yeah.
So I finally got to meet Louis' mom, Michelle, in person at state, and she told me the story. So basically, when Anthony was born, Dad wanted to call him Louis, and Mom goes, "No, I am not naming our son Louis." And so they reached a compromise where his middle name is Lewis, so it's Anthony Lewis Fabi, and then. I think Dad ultimately won because everybody just started calling him Louis anyways. So
it's like the self-inflicted nickname, which is awesome. It's a good story.
Yeah, so that's the mystery solved behind Louis Fabi and how he got that name. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty good. So yeah, it was overall a very enjoyable 1A state baseball tournament. And again, congrats to Troy, your champions. Clearwater Valley, 2nd place. Prairie takes 3rd. Potlatch finishes 4th. And it was just a lot of fun to share those stories, show those teams, showcase those athletes. Yeah, it was a really fun time for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right.
No,
Let's
you guys did a great job.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Let's talk 5A state baseball where, we did our state baseball preview show, Ryan, right before state, and Lucas Gebhardt, one of our 5A broadcasters, correctly pegged Lake City as a dangerous team. He said, I'm looking at this bracket and I see Lake City as a 6th seed, and like, it wouldn't surprise me if they went on a run and got to the finals. And that's exactly what the Timberwolves did. Now, they came up short against Hawaii in the championship game 5-2. But what a great run for the Timberwolves back at state for the first time since they had won it all in 2016.
Yeah, no, just a great job. And, obviously a new head coach, running that team is Paul Manzardo stepped down, the longtime head coach. They've done an awesome job with that program for decades. But, new coach, same result. I mean, you still get to see Lake City show up, and offensive firepower was there. I mean, they rolled into that first round win 13-0 as a 6 seed over a decent Eagle team too, which, I think a lot of people saw that and they're like, oh, all right. And Lucas was probably sitting there with the smug grin on his face a little bit because he saw it coming. But that I think that says a lot though about the quality of baseball in North Idaho, because Lake City kind of snuck in under the radar, and then they had that like stretch the last week and a half of this regular season to where they dropped a few games, and they still ended up getting the district title and getting into the state tournament. But I look at that team, and that team's only going to get better too. That's the scary part about this group, is that there's a lot of youth in that lineup. But I mean, you talk about firepower. Offensively, they showed up and they beat a very good Middleton team to find their way into the state championship game. And Hawaii, we know, I mean, they're good. Like, let's be honest, like the defending 5A state champ. So to lose, to the champ 5-2, I think it was a respectable effort, but that was just a great effort by the T-Wolves. I think kind of playing with house money going to that tournament, they looked loose from the get-go. I mean, you just watch them play. They were having fun. They were smiling in the field. They were making some great plays, and they were just kind of letting it hang at the plate. And, they didn't get tight because I want to say, weren't they ahead like 5-2 over Middleton at one point? Middleton mounted a comeback late in that game, and they didn't, get too tight and they didn't choke that one away. They ended up buckling down and getting the final 3 outs and getting out of that one with a win. But hats off to the T-Wolves. I think that was a great season. I want to say it exceeded expectations, but I mean, it's, everybody wants to win state going into the season, obviously. But we didn't know what they had until they finally got there. And they showed, they're top 2 team in the state in my mind at 5A. Absolutely.
Yeah, so they beat Middleton 5-4 in the semis, and in the process, they become the first non-District 3 team to get to the championship since 2018. So they broke a little, run of dominance there from District 3. And then in the championship game, and this is why baseball is such a great sport, Ryan, in the championship, Hawaii saves their best pitcher for last. His name's Ryder Cutlip. He's a junior. He's already committed to Gonzaga. So North Idaho fans, get used to hearing the name, Ryder Cutlip. He starts on the mound and doesn't have it. He walks 2 batters. He hits a third. He gives up an RBI single, and he leaves after recording only 1 out, a run already in for Lake City, and the bases are loaded. This is the first inning, and Lake City's like, oh, man, we can blow this game open. We have chased their ace off the mound. Hawaii brings in this sophomore who started the year on the JV team, got the midseason call-up, and this kid throws 3 1/3 scoreless innings.
Well, that spins it, man. No, I mean, Hawaii earned their title. Let's not get it mistaken there. Hawaii earned that. I mean, coming in with that type of arm out of the pen, that's just, you don't see that every day. I mean, that's just a masterful performance from a youngster. They just, you kind of, at the end of the game, I think the Lake City kids too, you could kind of see it, a little tip of the cap there, because I mean, that kid freaking brought it. And Hawaii punched, obviously, their ticket and got their state championship, and that, hats off to them. But no, I mean, Lake City had their chances in that game. Absolutely, they did. I know that they probably wanted a little bit more run production, especially when you get into a situation like that. But no, it was just a great title game and a great finish for the T-Wolves on an awesome season. And I look at next year, I definitely think they're going to be in the conversation for sure. As far as the top 3-4 programs in the state, they're going to be in that talk for sure.
Yeah, so that was a good run for Lake City. I did want to give one more shout out to the Orofino baseball team. They get to the 2A tournament, they win their first round game, they get to the semifinals and lose a very tight game to Nampa Christian. I believe it was in
That should have been the
extra
title game. That thing was. I don't ever want to say brackets seeded incorrectly, but man, that's a tough draw in a semifinal. That's a really tough draw. But
Well, and
go ahead.
it's ironic because that was the only tournament this year that used the old system of predetermining the brackets where, you were 2A, you go here. And you were 5-6A, you go here. No
Yeah.
max preps were used. It was all predetermined. And so that top half of the bracket was absolutely loaded.
Oh, it was brutal. Yeah.
Yeah. And so for Orofino to fall to Nampa Christian 2-0 in the semis, and if they had gotten that past that game, who knows? Malad ended up winning the championship from that bottom half of the bracket. So, but I agree. It was a tough path for the Maniacs and a great season for them. Ultimately, fell just short, but great job.
But no, a great season nonetheless. But yeah, that tournament, just seeding matters. It does. It really does matter a lot. I mean, but you look at, Lake City was the 6th seed and they ended up going to the state championship. So, I mean.
Well, and I guess part of it too was, Nampa Christian was the second place team from District 3. It wasn't like they were supposed to be there, but Marcine beat them in the district championship game, which kind of foobarred the bracket a little bit as well. But you know, what are you going to do?
Got to win the games in front of you.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's go to track and field. Let's start on the girls' side. We seem to have more individual champions on the girls' side. No team champions in either boys or girls track and field. We thought maybe Logos was the best team to compete. They ended up falling a little bit short, but we had a lot of good individual performances. Starting at the 5A meet, where Anna Peters from Post Falls wins the 3,200, and Zoe Kessinger of Lewiston ends up winning the discus. Congratulations.
Yeah, no, both great efforts by both of them. I mean, Zoe, she works staying hard and a great athlete too for the Bengals. But getting that discus title, I think it's quite a bit. We kind of knew that Anna's going to win that 3,200. I think that was kind of foregone conclusion that was going to take place. But Zoe winning the discus, I mean, that's pretty darn impressive. So, and then winning a state championship, anyways, is impressive. But great job by both those gals.
Yeah, because she had good competition from Ruby Jordan from Highland and Romberg from Bora. Both came in with pretty good throws in the disc. And so nice job, Zoe Kessinger. 4A meet on the girls' side. Ivy Smith of Sandpoint wins the shot put. And it's Zaya Munier from Lakeland winning the triple jump.
Yeah, no, and you look at both those teams, and I mean, that's there's some pedigree there too with Munier. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with that last name, but
Ammon Munier.
There's been a few of them that have come through Lakeland High School that have definitely made their presence known as on the athletic prowess. So, yeah, Zaya winning the triple jump, that's a great job. And Ivy winning the shot put for the Bulldogs, hats off. Like we said, we're kind of doing champions only. There was a number of placers from North Idaho. If you want to go look at the results, I think we'll probably talk about them next week or in weeks to come. But yeah, track I think gets overlooked a little bit. Just based on the success of what took place, but no, not a bad showing by either one of those for sure. State champions, awesome job.
Yep, and you can go to athletic.net and they'll have all the state results there at athletic.net. Ammon Munier and Abe Munier, they were brothers on that Lakeland basketball team that was really good a couple of years ago. So, yeah, the Munier name in Lakeland.
Ammon playing football at Weber State. So.
Yes, big time prospect. Okay, Class 3A. Aisha Abubakari sweeps the shot put and the discus. And that was a repeat for both those events. She came in as the defending champ, and the Bonners Ferry Badger wins both throws again.
And the Bonners Ferry Badger team, I mean, was pretty dominant in the throws. So, I mean, it wasn't just, I mean, she won her state championships, don't get us wrong. There's a couple other girls that finished on the podium from Bonners Ferry in the throws as well. So, Bonners Ferry in the field events definitely making their name out. But Aisha, great job. I mean, go repeat at any level is just impressive. And she's a very, very impressive athlete too.
We had another double winner in the 16 and 3,200 meter runs. The distance races swept by Coeur d'Alene Charter's McKenna Kozala, and she won the 3A cross country championship earlier this fall as well. So that is, if there was a distance race in 3A, she owns it.
Yeah, and then Annabelle Carr winning the 800 for Coeur d'Alene Charter, and then I believe their girls team finished 4th as a team at state, which is impressive. So, getting the points there to get a podium finish for the team, but also getting the top of the podium finishes and your individuals just dominating the distance races. Coeur d'Alene Charter did. So, I mean, that program's been historically just phenomenal when it comes to distance running and soccer. It's kind of what they do. So it's kind of like the only thing they do, but yeah.
They do tennis as well.
Yeah, they showed up at tennis as well. We'll talk about that as well. So
Yes, we will. 2A, Lindy Kessinger from Orofino repeats as the 2A discus champion, 140 feet 6 inches. That is further than Aisha Abubakari's throw at the 3A level, and it is further than Zoe Kessinger's throw at the 5A level. So
I want to say that was the top throw in the state for girls this weekend. Yeah.
Pretty impressive from Lindy Kessinger of Orofino. And then at the 1A level, one of our favorites, Caden Speck from Highland. She won the 400 in a time of 57:48. And Sage Elvin of Prairie won the discus at 129 feet 3 inches.
And the Prairie girls finished 2nd as a team. So that was an impressive finish there for the 1A. We talked about Logos being the maybe the dark horse to win that championship. Prairie comes up and gets number 2 on the podium, which was a very impressive finish for the Pirates. And, they had some great showings from their team. And Caden Speck winning, obviously, the title in the 400 was an awesome job. And I think she was runner-up or 3rd in the 100 and runner-up in the 200. So, I mean, she had herself a weekend, let's put it that way.
Yeah, from the wrestling circuit, Skylar Beck Caden Speck is a great wrestler. And, the Fabby boys from Clearwater Valley, Louie and Jake, are excellent wrestlers as well. And they know those families know each other pretty well and are pretty tight through wrestling. And so, as we were getting shout outs during the championship game in that 1A baseball tournament, Cadence's sister, Skylar Beck, sent in a shout out. And she goes, "Hey, we're all at state track and we are watching the Clearwater Valley baseball team."
That's awesome. Yeah, that's fantastic. And that happens with it happens a lot of towns, but the small towns especially, that there's just so much, I don't want to say there's a lot of families. I mean, especially you get up on the prairie there's a lot of people that are related or they've been lifelong friends and parents are friends and they become family and everything else too. So it's it's just a neat deal. Idaho and Southern Idaho's that way too a lot as well. But I think that, the towns support each other too, which is really neat.
Yeah. And kind of a cool just stat to encapsulate girls track and field. Every classification had a girls champion in at least one of the throwing events, 5A all the way down to 1A. There are 10 championships basically between shot put, discus, 5A through 1A. North Idaho took 6 of them, 6 of the 10. So
it's impressive.
Good work, ladies.
It's nice work.
Yeah.
Very well done.
All right. On the boys' side, Class 5A, we had Trevor Cogley of Lake City win the 400, 48-36, which is cooking.
He's the Boise State commit too. So, what he showed up on the football field, he does even better on the track. So Trevor winning, that's booking at 48-36. That is a smoking time of the 400.
Yeah, another Trevor Miller from Post Falls won the shot put, 57 feet, 3 1/4 inches, which is huge because this kid from Centennial, Kai Twaddle Dunham, was kind of the favorite going in. And so for Trevor Miller to win that, awesome.
And that says a lot about Trevor. I mean, you look at him as an athlete, that kid is a freak. He's he was first team All-State in football. He was a state champion in wrestling. And now he's a state champion in shot put. You talk about having a senior year, like that's an amazing job by Trevor. And then capping off a career to go play football at the University of Idaho. But he's just a great kid too. And, or young man, I should say, because he's probably bigger than I am. But yeah, he's a big dude and just a phenomenal athlete. And, somebody else that we looked at too, Matthias McLean had himself kind of a similar finish to his career as well. And at Priest River at the smaller school level. But, a couple guys that just really, really work hard. And Trevor getting that state championship in the disc or shot put. Sorry. We'll talk about the discus in a second, but yeah, Trevor winning shot is an impressive feat.
Yeah, both Miller and McLean moving on to U of I to play football. I saw a very early kind of FCS preseason top 25 this week. Montana State was 3rd. Idaho was 7th. And Montana, my beloved Montana Grizzlies, were behind the Vandals at number 10. I can't believe it.
That Big Sky is going to be crazy this year. That's going to be a very competitive conference for sure.
And then there's Idaho State, which we won't talk about. Not even close. Not even close. I'm not going to be living there much longer, so I'll be able to speak freely about.
You're in Montana right now, anyways. What are they going to do?
Yeah, I'm in a safe space, right? All right. Yes, discus won by, I believe this is another U of I football recruit as well. Actually, James White from Lewiston, 170 feet 8 inches. That's a good throw.
That's a nice toss there by James White. That's, I mean, and not to compare, but like, you know, boys to girls, like that just speaks about what Lindy Kessinger threw, going 146 inches. Like she's beating some of the dudes that, you know, normally finish in the league, like in every, you know, Thursday afternoon track meet. She's beating a lot of those guys. But James White going 178, that's a heck of a toss. And a great job for the U of I football commit. You know, he's a great athlete as well, and he's going to do big things at the next level. But a nice little feather in the cap for that high school career.
Yeah, to be a good discus thrower, you need that wingspan, and White at 6'5" certainly has that. And you were talking about, you know, girls disc versus boys disc. You know, the girls disc is a little smaller, circumference isn't as big, it weighs a little bit less, but still very impressive.
Still impressive. Yeah,
yes,
still impressive.
Sure. All right, let's go to the 1A meet where we had a double winner from Brady Cox of Kamei. And we've talked about him a couple times throughout the season. He won the 110 hurdles, which we knew coming in, right? 1577. The one that kind of surprised me was he won the high jump at 6'2", which, you know, that's a loaded field with Matthews from Rockland and the Rivas kid from Meadows Valley. They both had cleared, you know, 6'2" earlier this year.
Yeah.
And so for Brady Cox to win the high jump to me was a pleasant surprise. Maybe not to him or Kamei fans, but to me as an outsider.
No, I think going, you know, getting 2 on the podium, you know, the top of the podium is impressive no matter where you're at. And then also, I believe he had podium finishes in his other 2 events as well, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, he had a heck of a state meet. I mean, I think he carried that Kamei team basically with most of their points to a top 5 finish. So, you know, Brady Cox had a great weekend for the Cubs. We're getting state championships in both those events, and just a great showing. And a couple other things that were of note on the boys' side. You know, we would have been talking about Rusty Lee in the 300 hurdles. He finished second, obviously. He lost by 2/100ths of a second in that 300 hurdle final, which is just, I know, heartbreaking for him because he was hoping to get that state championship. And, you know, just to be that close was just crazy. And then obviously the bright spot, I think, Timberlake, they finished runner-up in boys track, which is, they had, I mean, if you go look at athletic.net, look through those results, they had a heck of a meet, and they showed up very well in every event. No, not necessarily getting any individual state champions. Obviously we know that, but like, I mean, they were in the podiums in almost every event, it seemed. And so Timberlake had a great weekend as well down there at state track.
Yeah, you talked about Rusty Lee. The guy he had been dueling all year was Augustus Haynes from Ridgeview. And remember, Haynes kind of had the best times in the hurdles for the first half of the season. And then Sandpoint went to that meet in Washington, the big meet there.
Invite. Yeah.
Yes. And Ridgeview went up to that as well. And they actually dueled Haynes and Lee mano a mano, and Lee beat him and set the new best time. So I guess Haynes got the last laugh in a roundabout way at state. But man, just watching those two compete from afar, but also together a couple of times this year was really fun to watch.
Yeah, no, and a great career for Rusty. And you know, what he's been able to do on the track is, you know, he's a great athlete and a good kid too. And you know, to be that close, I mean, that's so tight. I mean, you talk about 2/100ths of a second. I mean, that's like blinking. That's the difference in the finish.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, congrats to all of our track and field placers, champions, and teams as well. And again, athletic.net will have all all of the placers and everything. And if you want to know what happened around the state in terms of champions and big picture, Marlo Herford wrote a great recap of state track and field. It's on the homepage at IdahoSports.com. All right, let's move to golf, where, hey, we knew coming in, like, Bonners Ferry girls, they're kind of the team to beat here at this thing. They win the title. It was at the Blackfoot Golf Course. They had to come all the way down to Blackfoot. They shoot a 9 over 153 to win the title. They also have the individual champion in Braylon Bayer. Braylon Bayer shot a 9 over 153, her 2-day total.
Yes.
And so she ends up winning the individual title after finishing second last year. Good redemption for Bayer.
Yeah, and then you get Avery Bayer finishing third with a 162, and then Maya Blackmore finishing 10th. To get that, state title. That's the second one in the last 3 years for Bonners Ferry. It's an awesome job and a heck of a year for the Badgers. I mean, athletically, you talk about, I know their baseball team has a little bit of a bad taste in their mouth after what happened with that series with Timberlake, but overall, the Badgers, good grief, that was an awesome school year of athletics with those programs, and they've done an amazing job. So, hats off to all our good friends up in Bonners Ferry, so we don't get an email.
Oh man, yeah. We've got a letter from Christian Wiener in Bonners Ferry, and he writes.
No, he'll just send us a text message, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so it seems like as Braylon Bayer goes, so do the Badgers. 2021, yep. Bayer wins the individual title. Bonners Ferry wins the team title. Last year, Bayer takes second. Bonners Ferry takes second. This year, Bayer wins. Bonners Ferry wins. Of course, it's not as simple as that, but it's kind of a correlation there between the two. So congrats to Bonners Ferry on the girls' side. And then on the boys' side, we have the individual champ at the 2A meet at the Sage Lakes Golf Course in Idaho Falls. Kellogg Jr. Stephen Paul shot an 8 under 62 on the first round Monday. Then on Tuesday, the second day, shot an even par 70. He won by 10 strokes, which is pretty huge.
Yeah, no, the field wasn't even close in that one. So hats off to Steven in the championship there. And then getting his second title, winning by 10 strokes. And then Paul also won his freshman year in 2021. He won the title at Twin Lakes when the state tournament was up here. Kellogg was tied with Sun Valley Community School for fourth after the first round, and then lost the tiebreaker and started with the early group on Tuesday at state. And so what happened was that Kellogg ended up tied with Genesee Prep and tied with Sun Valley Community School for third at 658 strokes, which pushed the three teams into a playoff to determine third, fourth, and fifth place at state. And all five players from each team all play the par 5 10th hole, and then each team counting its last 4 or 5 scores. And then they had a sack race. I'm throwing that last part in to decide it. But Kellogg ended up winning the playoff, getting third as a team by 3 strokes. Genesee Prep finished second in that playoff, so they ended up fourth, which was a great job. I talked to you at the beginning of the year saying, watch out for Genesee Prep. They may be pretty good and get a podium finish, and they did. And then Sun Valley Community School ended up finishing fifth. So an awesome job, and Stephen Paul getting the individual title, Kellogg finishing third, and then Genesee Prep getting fourth. That's a nice showing there from the north at State Golf.
Yeah, and the Coeur d'Alene Press had a very nice recap of all of that crazy tiebreaker stuff that happened. So, congrats there. All right, let's wrap up with tennis. This is the sport that you know so well, Ryan. You coached it for several years.
Yeah, so well is an overstatement. I will defer to our friend Sean Kane on that one. But, tennis, Dylan Gomez of Lewiston taking second in boys, down there in the 5A ranks, losing to Eagles Shane Garner. He dropped the first set 4-6, but ended up coming back and winning 6-4, and then the tiebreaker 14-12 in the final. Losing. Sorry. Finished second. So he won the first set 6-4, drops the second set 6-4, and then loses in the tiebreak 14-12. And so, which sucks because I don't know if you've ever watched a tennis tiebreak. It's counting points. And Yeah, that's a marathon tiebreak there to lose 14-12 because you have to win by 2. That thing was teetering on the edge of just going on forever. And then so Lewiston, though, as a team also finished 4th, which is a great job for the Bengals. But, you obviously you want that state title with Dylan Gomez finishing as the runner-up at 5A. And boys is impressive. That's a nice finish there.
Yeah, I mean, Gomez was this close, but it was
Yep.
the match that never ends.
Yep. Marathon, man. That's an
Yeah.
understatement. A 14-12 tiebreak that's a long match. So
That's a lamb chop reference for anybody that didn't get that. That's I watched that on PBS as a kid. All right, Class 3A tennis. We had Tate Burkholder and Owen Sharp from Coeur d'Alene Charter take 3rd in boys doubles. 6-3, 6-1 win over a duo from Weiser. Way to go there.
Yep. That's an awesome job by Coeur d'Alene Charter. And I think they ended up finishing 5th as a team. So a great showing for them at state. And, any podium finish in tennis is impressive at whatever classification you're at. There's a lot of good players in the state, and well-coached kids too. And Sean Kane will attest to that too. Winning a state championship in tennis is just dang hard. To get that 3rd place finish is impressive, to finish with the W at the end.
Yeah, and secretly, Sean Kane, one of our broadcasters, he lives in Pocatello. He's the tennis coach at Century High School. He's my co-host on the East Idaho Prepcast. Very secretly, he doesn't like to brag about this a lot, but he's 2nd all time in tennis championships in Idaho history, only behind the Bishop Kelly coach. And he's, I think 2 or 3 behind him. He's won like 10 tennis championships. So he doesn't like to talk about it much, but
just ho-hum,
very good. Yes.
Well, the other one too, I think something got lost, and it's just because we don't talk a ton of tennis, so I'll mention it. But Brady Hanna and Andres from Lakeland ended up losing in the consolation final in 4A boys tennis in doubles, which is still an impressive showing at state. Lakeland, finishing, I believe it was 5th as a team. So the Hawks got a good showing down south this weekend. 4A is that's a tough division to win. So to get it, some sort of, positive note at state to finish that way is impressive. And then the Sandpoint girls finished 4th at 4A as well. So, but yeah, we'll talk about the other one. I'll let you go ahead and let you take the wheel.
Hey, it's all good. I thought you were going to dive right into it. That would have been fine.
Okay.
At the 3A girls tennis meet, we did have Caitlin Combs from Coeur d'Alene Charter. Also, she took 2nd, falling to Declo's Jordan Hicks, 6-1. 6-1. So nice job for Caitlin Combs to come up with 2nd place.
Yeah, and a 4th place team finish for Coeur d'Alene Charter. So, that kind of concludes our year in sports for high school athletics in North Idaho.
Yes, it is the end of the 22-23 school year. It is the end of the 22-23 season. Season 2 of the North Idaho Prepcast. We did 34 episodes this season, Scaggs.
Yeah, and I didn't miss any for COVID.
Yeah, hey, way to go. We both stayed COVID free this year.
That's right. Yeah. So, no, it was looking back, it's all the stuff that we do, and no, this was a fun year. I mean, really, the storylines that kind of like ebbed and flowed, and as we saw, with football, with Post Falls coming, out of nowhere relatively to win the IEL 5A for the first time ever. Then you go into basketball season we saw multiple state titles being won out of the North, and just wrestling, the dominance that happened there. And I just look at, North Idaho. I mean, we're in good position for years to come. And then we could have sports next year in Coeur d'Alene because the levy passed last week. So I know that people are looking forward to that as well. But yeah, I mean, that's, we kind of set the table for next year. And I know that we'll have a couple Prepcast special editions. I think we'll talk about the reclassification stuff this summer, and, bring in some of the, I think, rock star people that we have in our area as far as athletics go. Especially the coaches. I would love to get Will Love on if he'll have us. He's just a good dude. But yeah, this is an awesome season, and hats off to all the state champions out there. I mean, any state championship is worth of note. And man, we had a bunch of them this year from North Idaho in District 1 and District 2. And yeah, what a year it was.
What I love about North Idaho, and reason why I'm excited that I'm moving up there, which, contingent offer on our house. So hopefully that goes
There
through.
we go. We want to be
This-
doing these in person, man.
Yes. Oh my gosh, we're almost there. But what I love about North Idaho is, and I get this from the other areas of the state as well, but not as much from the north, is really the buy-in from the communities. I hear back from so many people from Bonners Ferry and St. Mary's and Lake City and Clearwater Valley and Troy and Prairie. And I mean, the community buy-in is so strong up north. And
Yeah.
like I said, it is in other places too, but it's really evident to me from the north. That's where I get the most correspondence from fans is from the north. And so again, my email is Brandon at IdahoSports.com. If there's ever a player, team, story you want us to cover, we are glad to do it. Just send the info to me, Brandon at IdahoSports.com. But you're right, Scaggs. We are entering the off season. We're not going to be here every week because we want to enjoy our summer vacation as well. I know
I'm planning a wedding, so yeah, leave me alone a little bit.
you're planning a wedding, and you've got a young one who's going to be on summer break. I know you guys are going to go have all sorts of fun adventures together. So
Yeah.
we will appear periodically. I think what we want to do is a couple of big roundtable discussions where we bring on Ryan and Sean Kane, our East Idaho Prepcast host, and Scott Burton from the Magic Valley and Logan Green from the Treasure Valley, and bring on all these voices from around the state to really tackle some of the big issues, kind of state of the union type stuff.
I'm here for it. It's like around the horn. You can give us points.
Yeah, we definitely could. And we want
button.
yes. So stay tuned for that. More details will be coming, and we'll probably do these live so we can have fan interaction.
That'd be awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, so, and I mean, I do want to give, just because I live in North Idaho, but like the kudos to the fan bases up here and the families and of kids and everything. It's like I want to say thank you first off, because you just make it. I'm lucky, man. I just get to go be a geek for high school athletics, and I have a day job and everything else, but like this is just something I do for fun, and but you make it worth it. Like I show up and you almost roll out the red carpet for me. I go back to like Bonners Ferry for that playoff game. It was one of the coolest high school experiences, and I went to a 3A Washington high school growing up, and like that was one of the cooler things that I've seen. And just you go to like basketball and doing a game down at Lapway this last year, and like all of these things and experiences that we get to do on any given night. It's just, we're so dang lucky, and thanks for like loaning your school or loaning your kids for us to be able to broadcast and talk about them, and everything else is just super neat. And we're incredibly blessed. I really have to say that, like, we're super lucky to do this.
Yeah, personally as well, during football season, I know Paul Kingsbury went to Clark Fork for the first time. IdahoSports.com was at Clark Fork for a playoff game or for any game, period. And they rolled out the red carpet for him. And I got the same treatment. I went to Mullen for a playoff game with Mullen St. Regis, and I just had a blast. So yeah, that's really, North Idaho communities are so accommodating and welcoming to us, and we love it. So thank you.
Looking forward to next year, man. I'm absolutely just stoked for next year and doing this over again.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously we went a little long today, but we had so much stuff to talk about. And this is kind of
we didn't do an episode the last 2 weeks, so I think it kind of makes sense.
Yes, it's good to have you back in the fold here, Ryan. And we will be popping on your radar periodically throughout the off season. The most surefire way to make sure you don't miss any of our off-season content is to just subscribe on our YouTube channel or subscribe to whatever podcast app you're using. And then whenever we publish a new episode, it's right there for you. You don't even have to do anything. So subscribe and you'll get all the info there. But for the last time in the 22-23 scholastic year, for Ryan Scaggs, I'm Brandon Baney. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, to the North Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.